you very much. But you're well, but how well is Josh Windass right now?
In terms of him being fit, Adam, yeah, no, not at this moment in time. Still needs more work, and still needs more detail into him in terms of from a medical point of view. So he's making good progress, but not in time for this game.
I suspect that may well rule him out for the entire Easter weekend then. Have you got any idea of how long he may still be out for?
Yeah, it'll definitely rule him out for the Easter weekend, but also at the same time, we'll just keep trying him week after week, really, and just seeing. We just want these symptoms to settle down. Once his symptoms settle down, you can give more of a prognosis and a time. But we're still very much hopeful that he's still got a large part of the season to play, even at this stage.
And in terms of George Byers, are you still doubtful as to whether he'll be able to play any part in the rest of the season?
Yeah, George is a little bit more complex and longer with the injury George sustained. It's more longer with George, so we don't predict George for any time soon. But we may see him before the end of the season, but not at any time soon.
Is there any better news on Messrs Hunt, Ihekwe and Patterson? I know they're the kind of three that have a chance really in the next few weeks, hopefully.
Yeah, with the probably the two that you're focusing on really was back in training is both Patterson and Icky's both back in training. So from that perspective, what we're just trying to do, Adam, is just give them, as you know, the level of volume of work that they need to do when they're integrated back with the main group. So they're in that stage, and we'll monitor them over the next, certainly over the next week.
So not this weekend, but potentially the weekend after.
Yeah, I mean, probably if you detail the two at this stage, I'd probably say Pato's probably the one nearer. And as I said, we just feel that he's really near. But obviously, we're just looking at him in terms of looking at the volume and the recovery time from training with him.
How big a decision have you got to make for the Oxford game in terms of who goes in goal this week, Darren?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It's a real good question. But as I said, you're splitting hairs really in terms of with both of them, because we feel that they're both number ones. And as I said, you know, when Stockers came back in, I felt it was just a right time to bring him back in with his voice control of the players and everything else, and that served its purpose. But certainly now with the both of them, they're both vying for that number one jersey, and certainly between them at the moment we're splitting hairs with them. So irrespective of which way we go, we feel we've got two that can deputise in goal and play that pivotal part.
Are you concerned at all about David Stockdale's last couple of games? Overall done okay, but you know, a number of people have labelled goals in both games at his door.
Yeah, you can understand it, but I think in terms of what he's brought us, coming back in stopping the rot, really, you know, we'd had a couple of losses, and I just thought it was a good time to bring him back in. As I said, with his experience and that coming in, and it served his purpose. I can understand people probably labelling looking at one or two goals, because as a goalkeeper you have no place to hide really in terms of it. But you know, I was probably looking at both games. You know, when I looked at both games in terms of the performances were better than the previous two in terms of the stats and figures, in terms of how we wanted to go about it. Both games had come off with a draw, but certainly the performances had warranted in terms of a bit more positivity in terms of the team. And obviously we came off the back of a real busy game schedule of, I think it was 5 or 6 games in the 2-week period. So we take all that into consideration, but certainly we're a team and a group of players that are looking forward and focusing and looking forward with our momentum.
Is it harsh on Cameron Dawson, taking him out the side? He seems in a way to be a bit of a scapegoat for a couple of games where you haven't managed to win.
Yeah, no, I think for what we all got to look at is when I made the change with David Stockdale early in the season, I mean, everybody was saying it was harsh and everybody asked me why I changed and put Cameron Dawson in after David Stockdale had done 10 clean sheets. And like I said at the time, I just felt at the time it was the right time for Cameron Dawson to come in. Dawson's performed really, really well. And I've said and maintained all the season. I've never changed from my views in terms of the goalkeepers. We've got two excellent number ones that challenge and compete each other day after day. And that's what they've done. And you can see the camaraderie they've both got. We want each other. And I don't think it was harsh for Dawes to come out at the time. We just made a decision based on the team, which we've always done all season, is based on the team. That served its purpose. And in terms of the goalkeeping situation, as I said, you can split hairs in terms of both goalkeepers who goes in goal. And what we just feel here is once we've made that decision, we feel that we've got one in goal that will perform and continue to go forward.
Looking at your midfield, Darren, have you seen a reaction from Deli Bashiru, Backinson and Adeniran this week in terms of knocking on your door saying, hold on a minute, I want an opportunity here? Because obviously you made the big call with Reece James last time out.
Yeah, we've all had a chat. What we have done this week, I think all myself and all three players have had a chat, and certainly in where their ability is and what they've got to offer us, we've certainly felt that we've not felt that and seen that from them in recent weeks. But we've got to remember that they're young players, and they've got to understand that at this time of the season when they find themselves out the team, is what can they do better to impress in training to get back in the team. I've certainly had the right response from them. I've certainly seen the right response from them in training, and I like what I see in terms of it. Obviously, all three of them get judged in terms of when they take the field of play and play for the first team, but I certainly like what I've seen from them in training. The response has been right.
Have you been a little disappointed with kind of the depth of squad and some of the players like those, in terms of when you have lost some of your quote-unquote star players, that other people haven't stepped up as much as you would have expected?
Yeah, because that's what we pride ourselves on, is performance. So, and also getting the group and ready to step in and be proactive for that situation and that time. So we have prided ourselves on that. The players have stepped in, but sometimes obviously you get certain dynamics of the game, but also as individuals performing, they've probably felt that they've probably not performed to the level in terms of where they could have reached for the team and given the team the outputs what we felt from them. But we understand it, and it's a learning process, and as I said, you know, there's still a lot of football to be played even at this stage of the season, and all three of them are needed. Certainly with our situation where we've got a squad this season where we've worked with lesser numbers, but there's been more adaptations to the team in terms of players playing in different positions, really, and that's what they've had to conform and fall into that.
With the current run of results, have you considered a formation change, potentially looking at a little more width, trying to get a few more people forward, trying to get a few more balls in the box for your two strikers?
Yeah, what I will say, Adam, is that obviously, you know, we've worked with, I mean, obviously it's not for me to give away what we do tactically, but we've worked shapes this season already where we've played a 3, we've dropped into a 5, we've played a 4 within shapes, and obviously we'll continue to do that within systems and that on the pitch, because that's how we've worked all season in chopping and changing, where you may shape up as a certain way, and through the as the game progresses, we adapt and play different shapes, and we'll do that. So really, in terms of what you're saying, is there is moments in games where, you know, we've had a lot of width to our play. You know, we've created overloads in certain areas of the pitch to score goals and everything else. So, and that's what we'll continue to do in terms of going forward and looking at getting goals. As I said, we feel happy in terms of the chances that we've created. What we haven't done is get the final touch on them or get the final combinations in the final third to finish them off. But we'll keep going and looking to continue to try and score as many goals as we can.
with Oxford's current form, will you get a better chance to get back to winning ways after 5 without a win?
I don't think you can say that, because the form guide went straight out the window when we played Forest Green. So any talk of that, really, you won't catch me getting drawn into that, because it's a game of football. It's against 2 professional teams who's going for the points tomorrow for the right reasons, for their own purposes. One team's at the top end of the table, the other one team's just floating about at the bottom end of the table, where I'm sure they don't want to be. So in terms of that, we feel in terms of where we are as a team, we're happy in the position that we hold at the moment, and we're looking to continue to keep improving on that, and that won't go amiss. So in terms of the form guide, I don't think in football you can ever say that you're going to stretch and impress. What you have to do is make sure that you're giving the best account of yourselves and preparing for the game as best as you possibly can.
Do you accept, though, that there will be a reaction, particularly from the fan base, if it goes to 6 games without a win and you fail to beat a team that's only got 3 points in the last 12 games?
I expect a reaction from the fan base if we'd gone 2 games without a win. So what I'm getting at, Adam, is that since I've arrived here, it's just to win games. Nothing's changed. So that's always been my focus. That's always been the purpose. That's the winning mentality we've brought to this football club over the last 2 years. So in terms of that, I would imagine now that, of course it is, because we've gone more than 2 games without winning. So I'm pleased to say at least I'm ahead of that stat in terms of that, really. So to go 6, obviously, for us would be, we don't want that, but we understand that we're in a competitive game and we're competing every single week. So we'll just keep our focus, we'll keep our momentum on the games, and we'll continue to keep working hard.
How much does the change in management there over the last few weeks kind of change this as a game, with Paul Robinson obviously being replaced by Liam Manning over the last couple?
Yeah, it's a change, because it's a change, new manager, new ideas, new dynamics, new voice in the club, new training's different, everything's different. So there always been a club with, I think, with good players, a solid club at the level that we had. Obviously this season they've just probably lost a little bit of their form in terms of where they would have been at. But in terms of Liam going in there, you know, he's a solid choice, a solid candidate, and I'm sure he's fast putting his ideas into the group of players. They're an experienced group, as we know, and they're in that transitional period at the moment where they're taking on new ideas and applying it to where they are to get them out of the position that they're in. So, as I said, you know, that's from their point of view, but from our point of view, we'll continue and focus and keep building on what we've done thus far this season and looking to add to that.
Just finally from me, Darren, we talked after the last game about how kind of flat and quiet Hillsborough was after going top of the league last weekend. Do you feel it's maybe time for another rallying call to the supporter base like we've seen from you before, because you've been pretty forthright with the club's fans at times this season on what you expect from them?
Yeah, and they know in terms of what I'm going to be saying, because it's about us just continue to look forward. Anything behind is wasted energy, really, in terms of that. So it's about looking forward, continue the passionate support that you've given us, because as they all know, you know, they are our 12th man in terms of giving that vocal support towards the team. As I keep saying, and I've consistently said, they've been absolutely magnificent this season, but the season doesn't finish in April. You know, it continues, so you've got to continue and keep pressing on forward, and I look forward to seeing them all there tomorrow. And as I said, you know, continue to be loud and vocal and keep supporting the team as you've done, because it's definitely felt by myself and the players, and we'll see you there tomorrow.
Thanks, Darren. See you at the Kassam. Thank you.
Cheers, Ed. Thank you.
Darren, how's it going? You alright?
Alright, Alex.
Yeah, not bad, thank you, not bad. You said how important this sort of 6-day gap was going to be in terms of taking a breath and going again. Have you got everything out of that you might have liked?
Yeah, I think for the biggest thing really was just to give the mindset a bit of a rest and a break really, and refocus the players, and just to concentrate on that really going forward. And I think that has been the biggest thing with this. And obviously it gives us time to get back to one or two and get the simple basics and do the simple basics well really. But over the course of the time, it kind of just balances out and gives the players that recovery time, and all the knocks and bruises, the scrapes and all that. You're able to give them a rest and recover and go again, and I'm sure the team will have benefited from that.
Do you feel that from the team, that maybe there is a bit more, naturally a bit more energy than perhaps there was, this time last week?
Yeah, without a doubt you can, because you're able to implement a bit more in training. You're able to give a bit more. You're not travelling on so much where you're cutting down training times and everything else. You're able to spend more time on the training ground, and you're able to do other training sessions. What can recover the players, but what can trigger the energies from the players that you want really. You're able to adapt that in when you get these 1 game weeks, or what would seem a 1 day week. Obviously with what we've come off the back of and having these 6 days, they've been a welcome 6 days.
Since Josh has been back in the building, you sort of said that there were going to be some assessments to see how that period away sort of worked. Were they as positive as you might hope? Can you give us some insight into maybe what the problem is?
Yeah, no, they're positive. As I said, it was a foot injury. They're positive in terms of getting the injury to heal, but also what we've got to look at is applying some pressure to the area and just seeing how he responds. And at the moment, that's the bit where we just got to see how he's responding at the moment, and that's the bit where we need to settle. We need the area to settle down to get a better assessment.
We've spoken a lot about Josh and George, haven't we? But a return of Pato in particular, I want to speak about. I mean, how big could that be? He's a big personality, such a versatile player, and he does sort of bring that work ethic as well. How big could his return be?
Yeah, no, it will be now, because obviously getting another body back, after losing sort of Jack and, losing a couple of players, so to get him back, and the biggest thing what you spoke about is versatility. He can play anywhere up the front, he can play in the midfield, or he can play in the back line. So when he's due to come back, he will be a welcome addition really back into the team. So yeah, I mean, and in terms of his energy and what he gives the team, and that versatility, and he's somebody that can pop up with a goal as well as doing the other side of the game, will be massive. But him himself chomping at the bit to coming back in. It's good to see him back in around it, and see him back in with the main group.
There's something you said last week that sort of piqued my ear a little bit in the managing of the attitudes of the 3 young lads in midfield, and you sort of said that it wasn't a problem. If it was a problem, then it probably wouldn't get to you, because the players would sort of stamp that out themselves. Is this changing room, different to maybe some of the changing rooms you had in the past? You had a young team at Donny, and in terms of that self-policing, because I know it sounds like a little bit of an old school sort of now pros and all the rest of it. Are you sort of satisfied with you guys get on with it?
I would just say let's focus on here, Alex. Let's focus on here at Sheffield Wednesday. When I first come to the football club 2 years ago, the change room's completely different to the change room what we saw and inherited then, and where the club was at then. There's a complete new changing room, and I'm only speaking at Sheffield Wednesday because we're all connected at Sheffield Wednesday. I want to know what's happening within the confines of the club. I would say I wouldn't have to go to any of my other clubs. I would say let's speak here at Sheffield Wednesday. There's a definite change in attitude, mentality, culture in this dressing room. And where I said with the 3 players, if they did give me a problem, I wouldn't have to sort it, because the change room would sort it. Certainly at 2 years ago, that would have been a problem, and it's been something where I had to have sorted, because those dynamics just simply wasn't in the change room. I feel here there's probably 1 or 2 more leaders and a bit more of a team cohesiveness together in terms of how they go about it together. That it's certainly, if one bleeds, we all bleed kind of mentality in there, which is great to have really. So, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Sounds like it might be handy at this sort of time, that Kipling quote that you keep going back to with everyone losing their heads and keeping your own. Are you satisfied with, let's be frank, there is a bit of panic and a bit of concern out there in the fan base. Are you sort of satisfied that hasn't permeated into the squad?
Yeah, no, because we've always gone on this journey since the start of the season, and we're all in this journey together, and that's how we've maintained it going forward. What we have done is brought real hope and expectations into the football club, and rightly so. That's what we're here for to do. But we're still in a real competitive game of football and a real competitive league. And sometimes the results, what you deem on paper is going to go for you, it doesn't always work out that way. But we know that's football, and it won't stop this season, and it'll be every season after season. But what we have maintained to do, Alex, is focus on where we are as a team, and we've always maintained the focus here as a team. Where can we be better? How can we be better? How can we maintain that consistency and keep those messages going? And we've always had that as a group, and I think that's always brought the improvement over the course of the season. And certainly, Alex, over the mentality for the boys to have done what they've done over that consistent basis, you have to say the mentality of them has been second to none. But we don't harbour on what's gone's gone. What we do is look forward, and it's the next game, which is on Friday, which is tomorrow, which will be a great game, and we focus and put all our energies into that game. Even at this stage, there is a lot of football to be played. There really is, and I think when you start looking too far ahead of you, you start losing the focus and the goal. The focus and the goal is tomorrow and Friday for the game, because it's a competitive match, it's a tough match, but a game that we look forward to as always.
Do bogey sides exist? Is that a thing within the professional game? Is there? Because I know sort of from the outside, it's sort of, we haven't beaten Oxford over the last couple of years. Is that a thing in professional football?
I suppose. I mean, I don't think so. I wouldn't say so, because it's just the next opportunity, and so I wouldn't say that. I know that there is some trends with football clubs that they play against certain opposition, and they just don't get the rub of the green or what they feel at the time. But I don't think I've ever come into this football club with that mentality and that mindset. The mindset's always been about who's the next opponents, and how best can we do against these opponents going forward. And that's always been the mindset, mentality. I think if you go with that mindset with, there's a bogey team and that, you're channeling your thoughts and your minds in a certain perspective, and that's not something that I've always brought here to the football club in the perspective. And I think in terms of where we've been as a team and as a football club, there's definitely been a change in mindset, culture which is what we've done. But I don't focus it as an individual. I focus it as us together, as everyone, really. And that's how I've done it, Alex, in terms of that. And it's been great to see the response from everybody. And you got to remember, the response from everybody, it inspires everybody. I'm inspired. So even though you might perceive that I've given the message, I'm inspired by the fans, I'm inspired by the players, and so we inspire each other in terms of going forward. And that's got to be my message. My message is, we've got to be an inspiration to one another, no matter what. If you're connected at Sheffield Wednesday, you can inspire and continue to do that. And as I said, we have done that thus far this season, but it doesn't stop here in April. We've got to continue doing that and keep moving forward, because we're as a one, as a football club, and a fan base, staff, players, we're as one. And outside that, everybody else is trying to disrupt that. So let's just all stay together as one and keep moving forward.
Absolutely. How nice has it been to have Icky back in with the main group? Another leader, like you say. Yeah,
real good to have him back. He's just really pleased to have him back. And as I said, he's just blowing off the cobwebs at the moment. And it's been good to get back into it, because when you've been out as long as Icky, what you end up doing, Alex, is you start to learn to position your feet in the air and start switching on autopilot in terms of what to do. There's a couple of things with him that probably a little bit rusty, but you can understand it. But in terms of having him back and him being back, I see an experienced individual that every single day when he steps out there is a day that we see in the Icky that we got here at the club for. So, and as I said, we thought he'd be back towards the last final parts of the game. So where he's at now, just let him blow off them cobwebs. But to have his experience and ilk at this stage of the season is he'll be a wonderful addition.
Good stuff. Picking up on something that you were saying to Adam about the goalkeepers, have you made that decision yet? Do you know who's starting goal tomorrow?
Yes, yeah, we do, yeah. Yeah.
Good stuff. And just lastly for me, Bailey Kadamachi's been missing from a couple of the youth squads. What's the story with him? Has he picked up a niggle? Yeah,
picked up a knock. We don't think he's going to be able to feature in many more of the youth team games because I think he's picked up a knock, might keep him out for the remainder of the games. So really unfortunate for him that he's not adding to his goals tally this season, finishing the season off strongly, but he's had a pretty strong enough season in terms of the cup run that he's had and the way he's helped the under-18s into the final stage of that one. But at this stage, obviously we'd have liked him to be getting a couple of under-23s games, but we don't think that's going to be the case now in terms of the injury that he's picked up.
He's had a couple of little niggles, hasn't he, throughout the season? Is that, he's a big lad and he's grown, is that just sort of all part of the development of his body and all the rest of it?
Yeah, because when you look at Bailey, he's almost like a boy in a man's body, if you like, because when you look at him, he's got good size and stature, and credit to him in the young age that he is. We've had offers for him to go out on loan, so it's credit to him because people just see this physical specimen of a player and one that's young and moves really well, but also at the same time his development is really key in terms of where he's at, and that's why we've kept him in the building, playing the 18s, stepping up and playing in the under-23s, and at times when he's been fit and ready, bringing him across to train with the first team group, and putting him up against the likes of your Flints, your Alphas, your Palmers and Femi Walls, because he ain't going to get any a baptism of fire in terms of his learning. But he has picked up a couple of niggles, and we feel that it could just be his growth spurt that he's on at the moment, his body developing, all those fundamental basics with a young player growing, and his body adapting to the strains and pressures of what the game can bring and being able to cope with it. So he'll make a full recovery again, but we don't feel he's going to be quite fit enough, maybe, unless he makes a quick recovery for the remainder of the season.
Great stuff. Thanks for that, Darren. I'll catch you tomorrow.
Cheers. Thanks, Alex.
Hi, Darren. You okay, mate?
Hi, Leon. Yeah,
Hello.
yeah.
I've only got a few, mate. I was just
No
sort
worries.
of thinking that you've obviously, I think this break's maybe come at the right time, but the fact you've got 2 games in quick succession, a quick turn, that could work for you, couldn't it? You know, you look at, by the time the games finish on Monday, the league table could just look a hell of a lot different and really sort of rosy for you, so you can flip it round pretty quickly.
Yes, Leon, and how I look on this Easter weekend is you get the Easter weekend, so you get 2 quick games in quick succession over 3 or 4 days, and then all of a sudden then it's what I call you into the final furlong then, really.
Yeah.
So at the moment I always discuss that there is still a lot of football to be played, but with these 2 games over the weekend, over the Easter weekend, and 6 points available, there's a couple of games in a short space of time and a lot of points available, so the league table could look very, very different after the Easter break, and then sort of going into the final furlong of games, which you focus into. So that's why we're able to just keep focus, keep our concentration, our mindset and mentality for this game tomorrow.
This thing about keeping calm and things really can change at the end of the season. I remember when you were at West Brom, you went in there as a caretaker. I think they'd lost 8 or 9 on the trot, hadn't they?
Yeah.
And they were down and out. Everyone, you thought, that's it, and you nearly pulled off, a miracle. Things, drama can happen at the end of the season. You just got to keep calm, haven't you?
I remember at the time, Leon, we had 6 games remaining, and I remember, taking it and, getting the first point against Swansea, then us going to Old Trafford and winning at Old Trafford, then us picking up a point against the Champions League finalists Liverpool, then we beat Tottenham, we beat Newcastle, and then we had to go to Crystal Palace on the last game of the season, but there was a game in midweek between Swansea and Southampton, and we needed that to be a 0-0 or a draw to take it to the final game. But unfortunately Southampton won the game, which meant that West Brom, through not playing themselves, had gone down. And that mini 6 game had sort of come to an end, and then we lost the last game of the season at Palace. I think it was 2-0, but credit to the players. But just how one result can spark a run of games at that time. And that's I remember that time when I took it at that stage of the season. But certainly it felt like it was going to be a great escape, number 2 for the time. So looking at this stage of the season with all these games to play and all these points still to play for, you know, if ever you wanted to time a run of games and get back on the trail, then if ever it was going to be now, then it'd be great, you know.
That pressure you can use that, can't you? You can sort of think there might be pressure moments in the games ahead, and you've been there before, haven't you? You know, personally on the touch.
Yeah, and that's why I suppose you can be at this stage, and you know, I focus on the team. I can't focus on the uncontrollables. I can't focus on, you know, all the other things that go with football. What I just do, Leon, is keep focus on the team and maintain that, because that's where we work. I'm the manager here at Sheffield Wednesday, and my job is just to focus on the team. Obviously, I address our fan base and, you know, the communities with the message, but ultimately now it's about focusing on sort of the team and making sure that together as a team we're performing and our performances are right, because I really feel that the performances are right, then it puts us in with a chance of winning the game, and I've always maintained that really. So that will continue with that.
You've got the character as well, finally, haven't you? There's a lot of lads who what happened at the end of last season, channeling that disappointment, and you've got plenty of players who've been around the block as well. That should really stand you in good stead at this key time.
Leon, that's always been a motivation from last season, was learning from that and coming back and getting back to work really, really early in pre-season and bringing in what we did, because that's always been a motivation from us from last season. And coming into this stage, we feel as a team where we're at, we're in a better position in terms of where we're at this season. And we feel that our mindset and mentality has been better as well in terms of learning from that. So, you know, we're coming into another part where, you know, we got to keep our foot to the pedal really, and just keep going, but making sure that we're pushing each other and encouraging each other to be better. Because as I said, you know, I've got every faith in these group of players here in terms of what they brought us thus far this season, and what they continue to bring us in day out in training. But we know that, you know, we've got to keep performing at the very, very best and the highest level.
Yeah, very best of luck, Darren. Thanks for talking.
Thanks, Leon. Good to see you. Thank you. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.